Okay, so this time round we're going to try and design a fuel cell, one that would be a bit easier to FDM 3D print than the last light bar that we did. That's the image that I found, so we're going to try and do something similar. Not the same, but similar. So let's make a start. So essentially it's just going to be a box with a lid. You could put your receiver in it if you wanted, or just use it for scale looks. You're obviously going to need to design this with some dimensions in mind to fit your application. But I think for these purposes, we'll go for about 70 millimeters across, maybe 60 deep, something like that. So interfusion, I'm going to go on the top plane. I'm going to make a sketch. I'll start with a center rectangle. So we go about 70 millimeters wide. Maybe 50 tall. Okay. And what we're going to do first is just make the box. So that's the overall shape. Then I'll hit Q to do a press pull. I'm going to go downwards 30 millimeters, for instance. You could do it whatever you want. It's set to a new body, and we'll press OK. So that gives us a rectangular solid. If you wanted, you could chamfer the edges. So we go modify, chamfer, click the edges that we're talking about. And then you can pull in to get the look that you want. So we say that, 4 mil. Okay. So it's a solid lump. If we want to make that into an actual box, you can go to modify shell and you click on the surface that you want to be the hole, if you will. So click on that, and then you have to type in here what your wall thickness is going to be. So if we say 2 millimeters, you get a box where every single wall around the sides and the bottom is going to be 2 millimeters thick. Okay. So that's fine for that. And then we're going to need a lid. Now, I'm doing this on the lines of trying to make it easy to FDM 3D print. So that would be easy to print because you just print it as it sits there on the screen on your 3D printer bed, and that'll be quite a quick print. And then we'll make a separate lid. But so the separate lid will print quick and easy as well. We're going to make that perfectly flat bottomed, so it's not going to have any like interlocking features or anything. So if we start another sketch, we're going to do a sketch on this surface. And then what we can do, if you look at the picture of the one that I found on the internet, the lid seems to overlap a little bit from the box, so we'll do that. So I'll use the offset tool, click the outer perimeter of the box, let's offset it by 2 millimeters, whatever you want, don't matter. Okay. And then do Q for a press pull. We want to pull up all of that surface, and let's make that 2 millimeters as well. Now it defaults to join. You don't want them to join together because you want them to be two separate bodies. So new body. Okay. So over on the side, you've now got body 1, which is the box, and body 2, which is the lid. Okay. So as it stands at the moment, that just sits on the top and it'll slide around. So you need a way of attaching this to this. So the easiest is going to be having some screws holding it in place. So we need to decide where we're going to put the screws. You could just put 4 in each corner, or if you want to get really scale, you could use real 2mm hardware to go all the way around the edge. So like 2mm scale hardware, like from SSD or something like that. So I think that's probably what I'll model for this. So if we do sketch on the top, we need to know where that lip is from underneath. So I've just got the bottom visible, and if I hit P for project, I can click there. And I can, in fact, it's just easier if I click that entire surface. Okay. Then I bring back my lid, and you can see there the purple lines which show where that wall is. But we made that wall 2mm thick, so you couldn't really use M2 hardware on a 2mm thick wall. So you could either make the entire wall thicker, or you could add some, like tangs where you'd be putting the screws. In the interest of simplicity, what I'll probably do is just make the wall thicker. So if I want that wall to be thicker, the easiest thing that I could do is, when we made the shell, we made the walls 2mm thick. So if you wanted, you could go back to down here at the bottom left on your timeline, the shell command, where we made it 2mm. We could make it 4. But that's also made the base of the cell 4mm thick, which is a bit of a waste. So we could drop that down by 2mm to make the bottom 2mm thick instead of 4. So if I turn off the sketch, hit E for extrude, click the bottom, go down to OK. So now we're going to have a bottom that's 2mm thick and the walls are 4. If I bring back the lid and put back on the sketches, you'll see that the projection has mirrored the change from a 2mm to a 4mm thick wall. And then what we can do is, just think about it briefly. If we make a path that goes along this midline, we can do a sketch that follows that path. So if I do an offset path of this by -2mm, you get a path that's directly in the middle of the wall of the box. And then I am going to, in the midpoint here, do a circle with a 2mm diameter. And then I am going to extrude that 2mm hole. And I'm going to pull that hole through the lid and into the box. the length that you do that's obviously going to be dependent on the size of the hardware that you're going to use. So for this instance, it doesn't really matter. And it's set to cut. And I press OK. And it's not done it. It's because the timeline's on the old one. So I've dragged the timeline back to real time. So there it is. And you'll see that the hole goes through both the lid and the box. But there's only one, and we want them all the way around. So, to repeat the hole, there's a few ways you can do it. This time, if I make the path visible, the sketch that we just sort of drew on the last step, we can then do create a pattern along a path. We're going to make a pattern of a feature. Cat's just got in there. And then the feature we want to make a pattern of is the extrude. The path we're going to do it on is this black one in the middle. If we look from the top, we can drag this around, and I'll drag it to about the middle. It'll snap to place, and we can increase the quantity until we get a nice number that lines up with these corners. We'll press OK. So those holes will be mirrored all the way around one side. The reason I did it just on one side is it gets pretty tricky to do it all the way around and get this gap equidistant on this side to this side and end up with some nice holes in the corners. So we do it that way. And then I'll do create a mirror. We're going to do a mirror of a feature. I think this will work. The features are going to be that extrude and the path. And we're going to mirror it in this plane. Okay. It didn't like it. So let's just try it one more time just by doing the pattern, mirror, feature, pattern, plane, that one, yeah. So you've got all those holes all the way around. Now, if we hide the lid, we're going to make these threaded, these holes. So I'll get rid of the sketch, create a thread. I wonder if it lets you do more than one. Just try. I'm going to select a couple of the faces, create thread. Yes, it does. So if we click, hold shift, select all these faces, create thread. I've already decided that we're going to use M2 hardware to do this. I want them modelled. It's already selected M2. OK. And you've got all those nice threaded modelled M2 threads. We can leave these holes at 2 because they don't need to be threaded, because you're going to use scale hardware to punch through. And then what we need to do next is add some detail to the top. So if we look at the reference picture, let's start with putting this logo on, fuel safe systems. So I found online an SVG file of the fuel safe logo. So I've not tested it, but we'll see if this works. So I'm going to do a sketch on the lid. I'm going to do insert SVG. I'm going to find it in my downloads. It always messes them around a little bit. I can already tell on here this isn't going to work. There's some geometry missing from the SVG file, but we can try and overcome that. Press OK. I'm just hovering my mouse over because if it changes colour, you know that it's a decent file, but you can see here on the M there's bits missing, so we're going to have to add some lines in. So I'll just draw some lines and see if that, yeah, that's going to fix them. You sometimes get that with SVG files on Fusion. It decides to omit certain bits, which is a bit of a pain, but hey, it's free. Okay, so I think they're all good now. So I'm going to select, well, hit Q to do a press pull. I'm going to click the letters. Let's pull those up 1 millimeter. Set to join, which is fine. Hit OK. You got those. If you want to make it a bit prettier when you're designing, you can add some colour. So what was the reference one? Silver with black. So if I hit A for appearance, do a search for black, you get lots of different options. Paint, enamel, glossy black, that'll do. So I select faces. In fact, now the quicker way is bodies, make the whole thing black, and select faces, and make the main face silver. There we go. And whilst we're doing it, we can make the let's make it brighter silver. So there's a metal flake. Okay, close that. Hit save just because occasionally Fusion does crash. You don't want to lose your work. You can see there. You just need to do that face. Any others? No, that's good. Right, so on the reference picture, you need to do something like this. Now this is where you get into the area where super detailed bits like this are going to be a bit tricky on an FDM printer. So you might want to make a simplified version of this. Or if you've got a resin printer, you could print this piece in resin and then glue it on, and then you would be able to get it as detailed as that. So let's just sort of go for halfway in between. We'll make the rough shape with some pretend bolts around the edge. So get rid of the appearance, run a new sketch on the top, zoom in. We'll start with a rectangle, centre rectangle that starts in the midpoint, something like that. I'll fillet the corners. In fact, before I do that, what's this? That's 20. Let's give it a 10 fillet there, 10 fillet there, 10 mil fillet there, 10 mil fillet there. Okay. That'll do for now. Hit Q, press pull. Let's pull that up 2. For the moment, I'll do it as a new body. Let's chamfer this edge. Let's do something like 1.6. Okay. On the reference image. Yeah, let's try and get some of these cutouts maybe in the bolt holes. Just look at them again. Right. Let's do a sketch on the top. Let's just do some rectangles. Cutting slightly into the piece. Okay. And then if let's try that pattern on a path again, see if this works. No, because I didn't align this to a specific path. So if I go back and edit this, get rid of that. Right, what I'm going to do first then is I'm going to do an offset of this. Then I'm going to make my shape that I'm going to do the cut with aligned to this. Create a path, pattern on the path, feature of the cut, bring back the visibility of the sketch, like that. You want it orientated in the path direction, and if you do it that way, it will rotate the cut along with the angle, if you will, of the path. And press OK. Hide the sketch. Then I just need to mirror the cut. So mirror, feature, that, in the plane, that, okay. Got that. There we go, gives it a bit of detail. And then what we want to do is we want to put some like pretend bolts in these cutouts. So if I start a new sketch, if I bring back the last sketch we did, make a projection of that path, hide it again, then we can do, let's just use hex bolts. So inscribe polygon, I go to the midpoint there, Q, select it, and this time let's go up 1 mil and down so it touches. We can join it, okay, and then we can again do the pattern on the path as a feature, and the path we're going to use, I have to make it visible again, this one. And this time it's not letting me. So let's select the other, which is a pain. However, if I bring back the path from the previous sketch, it does. Don't know why. Just does. There you go. Okay. We want to mirror them. So mirror of the pattern in that plane. Okay. Hide the sketch. There you go. Now let's put some detail in the middle. We look at the reference. All sorts of fittings for hoses and sensors to go to, but which is great to recreate. But you know, if you're thinking about it, you're not going to have all these separate wires and pretend hoses on a RC quill unless you're really going to town. So let's just make sort of one decent sized filler, for want of a better word, and maybe a couple of ports where you could connect some wire to look like hoses. So if we do another sketch on the top, start with a circle, so So the circle we're doing now will be like somewhere for you to insert a hose, so it'll end up looking like an AN fitting or something like that. So if we say 2mm hole, and then around the outside of that we're going to do a inscribed polygon, like that. Q for a press pull the outside section, like that. Okay, let's do a little chamfer. Like that. And then when that prints, you'd be able to put, you know, a bit of silicone wire or something in there, glue it in, and have it draping off into your chassis, and it'd look like a fuel line. What I should have done is when I extruded it, if I'd have done it as a new body instead, we could then hit the M button for a move. We're going to move a body, we're going to move this new ports that we've just made, and we're going to hit create a copy. Let's put another one over here or something. We've got two of them. And then we need to combine them. So modify, combine this body with this body and this body. Already set to join, hit OK. And then we can do a filler. Let's do a really simple one. So another sketch on this surface, circular. Dimensions aren't important at this point, just want to get it finished. Hit Q, let's come up a little bit, join, hit F for fillet, let's make it a bit rounded there. Okay, and then let's make a little cap, sketch again. You move your mouse to roughly the centre, you'll see the little circular icon, which means that you've found the centre of the other circle. Just come out a little bit wider. Q. Select it, pull it up a bit, join. Then let's make like a little lip for you to grab onto your hand. If I do X for a guideline, let's make a line just through the middle so we know where the middle is. Do an offset of that. Do it 0.6, no, 0.8. Do another one. Minus 0.8. Hit Q. Get that bit with the nice rounded ends. Join. You've got that. Then what you could do is, to give it a nice round to it, sketch on the side. Let's do a spline, and to make sure it's nice when we mirror it, we can do if I can remember which one it is, collinear. Click that, there you go. we need to make a guideline there. So switch between a proper line and a guideline, you just hit X on your keyboard. And then I can do, press that, construction line they're called. Create mirror, this, through the midpoint, okay. And if I extrude that, it wouldn't actually look right because it's curved end. So I just need to, before I finish this sketch, I need to extend these lines just a little bit. So actually just make them a bit wider. And then if I hit Q, I can select all those bits. Pull across. Let's cut. Do some fillets. Let's see what it comes up with. Like that. And there you go. So we've got a body for the base, a body for the top, and a body for the fuel section. What we'll do here is we'll combine those. Well, before I do, let's just change the appearance, because whilst we've got this as a separate body, we might as well just quickly give it a nice anodized finish. So body like that. Close that. And we do modify, combine, body 2 to 3, join, okay. So let's change it back again. Oh, never mind. Can't bother changing it. So yeah, give the bodies names. Save it. And that's that. So yeah, you could resin print or FDM print all of that, use some scale hardware, do some painting, and it'd look pretty good. If you were going to put your receiver inside it, you could just model in a little hole up here for the wires to run through. All sorts of things. Put some brackets, some little tabs on the sides to help you secure it in your chassis. And that's about it. So yeah, I'll put these files, the STL files for the base and lid, and I'll also put the Fusion files and the links in the comments below. Yeah, hope you like these. If you want any more, give me some ideas of what things that you want doing. I'm not going to model up a complete truck body, that's just too much time. But little things like this, that's no problem. Okay, give us a like and subscribe or whatever. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.